February 1959. Deep in the frozen Ural Mountains of Russia, 9 experienced hikers set up camp for the night. They were young, trained, and prepared for the brutal winter. But sometime during the night, something went terribly wrong. Their tent was later found cut open from the inside. Footprints showed the group had fled into the freezing wilderness without shoes or coats. Hours later, rescuers would discover something even stranger. Some of the hikers were found a mile away from their camp. Several had massive internal injuries. One victim was missing their tongue. And to this day, no one knows exactly what happened. This is the mystery of the Dyatlov Pass. The expedition was led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student. Dyatlov and his team were experienced hikers from the Ural Polytechnic Institute. Their goal was ambitious: to complete a challenging winter trek across the northern Ural Mountains. The group included 9 hikers, most in their early 20s. They were highly skilled and trained in extreme conditions. Their journey began in late January 1959. The team traveled by train, then truck, eventually reaching the small village of Vizhai, the last inhabited settlement before the wilderness. From there, they would continue on skis into the mountains. At this point, everything seemed normal. The hikers were in good spirits, joking in their journals and taking photographs along the way. None of them could have known they were heading toward one of the greatest mysteries in modern history. On February 1st, the group reached a slope on a mountain called Kolashyakal. The name comes from the local Mansi language. It means Mountain of the Dead. Despite worsening weather and strong winds, the hikers decided to set up camp on the exposed slope rather than retreat into the nearby forest. They pitched their tent directly on the mountainside. Photographs from their camera show them laughing as they built the campsite. That night, they settled into the tent to sleep. But sometime during the dark hours of the night, something happened. When the group failed to return from their expedition, rescue teams were sent into the mountains. After several days of searching, rescuers finally discovered the campsite. What they found made no sense. The tent was partially collapsed and covered with snow. Even more disturbing, investigators discovered the tent had been cut open from the inside. It looked as if the hikers had panicked and escaped through the fabric instead of using the entrance. Footprints were found in the snow leading away from the camp. The tracks showed the hikers had walked, sometimes even calmly, down the mountain toward a nearby forest. But there was one terrifying detail. Most of the footprints were made barefoot. The temperature that night was estimated to be -30 degrees Celsius. Surviving outside without proper clothing would have been nearly impossible. About a mile from the tent, searchers discovered the first 2 bodies. They were lying beneath a large cedar tree. The men had attempted to start a small fire. Their clothing was minimal. Both had died from hypothermia. Investigators noticed broken branches high in the tree, suggesting one of the hikers had climbed up to look toward the campsite. It appeared they were trying to see what was happening on the mountain. Between the tree and the tent, rescuers found 3 more bodies. These hikers seemed to be attempting to return to the camp, but they had collapsed in the snow before reaching it. Over the decades, many theories have tried to explain the Dyatlov Pass mystery. One theory suggests an avalanche may have forced the hikers to flee their tent. Another possibility is that the group was caught in a powerful wind phenomenon known as a katabatic wind, capable of producing terrifying sounds and pressure. Some researchers believe the hikers may have witnessed secret Soviet military testing. Other theories are even stranger, including rare atmospheric events or unexplained lights reported in the sky around that time. Despite decades of investigation, none of these explanations fully answer every question. After decades of speculation, investigators began revisiting the evidence more carefully. For years, people proposed wild theories: secret military weapons, attacks, even supernatural explanations. But when scientists studied the case again, a more realistic possibility started to emerge. Many researchers now believe the hikers may have been caught in a type of avalanche known as a slab avalanche. Unlike the massive avalanches people imagine in movies, slab avalanches can be smaller and harder to detect. The group had pitched their tent directly on a steep slope. To set up camp, they had cut into the snow to make a flat platform for the tent. This may have accidentally weakened the snow layer beneath them. Later that night, strong winds could have caused a large slab of compacted snow to slide down the slope. If that happened, the tent may have been partially crushed or buried. Inside the darkness of the tent, the hikers may have believed a larger avalanche was coming. Instead of trying to dig their way out through the entrance, they cut open the side of the tent and escaped immediately. But there was another problem. They ran out into the freezing night without proper clothing. Temperatures that night were estimated to be around -30 degrees Celsius. In those conditions, frostbite and hypothermia can begin in minutes. The hikers likely ran downhill toward the forest, where trees could provide shelter from the wind. There, 2 members of the group attempted to start a fire beneath a large cedar tree. Others tried to return to the tent to recover supplies and warmer clothing. But the freezing temperatures made survival extremely difficult. As the group became weaker, they likely split up in desperate attempts to survive the night. The injuries found on some of the hikers may have occurred when they fell into the ravine while moving through the darkness and deep snow. The force of the fall, combined with the weight of heavy snow, could explain the severe internal injuries. As for the missing tongue and soft tissue found on one victim, investigators believe those may have been caused by natural decomposition and scavenging animals after the bodies remained in the snow for months. Even the traces of radiation on clothing may have a simple explanation. One of the hikers had previously worked in a facility that handled radioactive materials, so small traces on their clothing were not impossible. While this avalanche explanation does not answer every question perfectly, many scientists believe it is the most likely scenario based on the evidence. Still, the events of that night remain haunting. Today, the mountain pass where the hikers died has been renamed Dyatlov Pass, in honor of their leader. More than 60 years later, the mystery still fascinates investigators, historians, and explorers. 9 experienced hikers entered the mountains. None returned. Their final moments remain one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries ever recorded. And somewhere in the frozen silence of the Ural Mountains, the truth may still be buried beneath the snow.